everything you ever needed to know about getting organized for college today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized, and we have a great return guest. If you remember all the way back to episode number 1, when we started this, in fact, she launched this podcast with us. We are going to welcome back Leslie Josell from Order Out of Chaos. Leslie, how are you doing?
Hey, John. I'm good. I'm so happy to be back. We got picked up for season 2.
That's right. Well, we're not quite in season 2 yet. We're in actually a special edition of Keeping You Organized here in August, and it's our back to school. And the reason, of course, we're having you back on is because you are a back to school expert for a number of reasons. One, because you have that great academic planner that everybody talks about.
Thank you.
But also you have some personal experience, and we're going to focus on college today. And so getting organized for college, and I know you have at least one daughter in college. Is that correct?
That's it. I have she just finished her sophomore year. Yes,
awesome.
I do.
So you have practical. You're not just preaching this; you're actually practicing it too. Correct?
I'm preaching and practicing.
Okay, well, good. We love the preaching too. So, amen. All right. Well, let's get started because there are unique challenges that people have when they go to college. I mean, probably one of the obvious one is just like that little teeny space they get in a dorm room. So how do we attack the organization issues for a new college student?
Okay, so you're going to chuckle, or I hope you're going to chuckle. I really believe the organizing for college has to start way before they even get there. So number one is once your child gets even their assignment, their dorm room assignment, as much information as you can gather beforehand is critical. So to use me as an example, yes, I am this crazy. So when my daughter got her dorm assignment at WashU in St. Louis, I actually called the whatever the office was and asked them if they could tell me exactly what was in the room. And not only tell me what was in the room, but if they could even give me sizing and dimensions, because that will actually help you. I mean, you don't have to be that crazy, but I actually sketched out the dorm. I know, but it actually helped to put everybody in a little bit. It helped to really see it visually, to be able to draw it a little bit and ask some questions such as, does the bed rise? That's like the number one thing, because not every dorm room has a bed that rises. So if it rises, then we know we have the space underneath to really maximize our space.
Now, some of those dorm rooms too, you have to actually use like the bunk beds or whatever it is that they provide you, correct?
Right. So that's one of the first questions you should be asking is, does the bed rise? And if it does, how high can you get it? Because some beds will only rise maybe 8 inches. Some will actually go all the way up to 30. So that will tell you right off the bat, do I need under the bed storage boxes? Do I even need a step stool so that my child can actually get on a step stool to get even into bed?
Right.
You need to ask a question. These are great ways to begin the organizing process. Does the closet have a door? Because the back of the door, the front of the door, is one of the most important, I think, organizing spaces we have. But if the student doesn't have a door, then we have to become creative and find other ways.
Yeah, that's almost like losing a certain number of square feet, right? If you can't use that surface, you've got to find somewhere else to put stuff.
You need to know exactly what's in the closet. Is there only one bar and one shelf? Do I have multiple shelves, or so if I know there's one bar, do I need to buy an extender that's going to give me a dual rod so I can maximize space? So all of these questions, I know it might sound funny that I actually did something like this, but I tell all of my clients to do this, and they said it really helps them to get prepared for what they need to bring.
Now, I'm wondering if there's confession here. Did you request like a corner room, or is there like an ideal, like a middle room, or is there something that's better than the other because you have an extra wall or something?
I think it depends on the school you go to. I mean, I think my daughter's very lucky. WashU was rated #1 for dorms in the country. Oh. So I always laugh that her dorm room is nicer than our house, but not everyone has that kind of space. I mean, you're really up against a lot of challenges. Most colleges are, a lot of kids in a room and a small room to use. So we have to get super creative.
What is like the average square foot of a room like that, a dorm room?
You know what? I don't really know square footage, but what I tell people, if you know you're getting a small room, what you really need to be doing is thinking about airspace.
Okay.
You need to come up with ideas that your places that you're going to use for organizing that you might not necessarily think about. So, for example, if the room has a desk and a chair, believe it or not, the back of the chair is a great place. They make products where you can actually put an organizer behind it. So you can keep in there maybe some gadgets, wires, all different types of, even like totes or an umbrella, or the side of the bed. If you don't have, let's say, a small nightstand next to you, the side of the bed can keep, even like they have little, I want to say like a little fabric organizer that hangs off the side of the bed that you can again use for, you know, keeping maybe an iHome or speakers or whatever it is you need to have by the side of your bed. These are types of places that a student might not think are places that they can use for organizing.
What do you think are the most important surfaces? I mean, so obviously at a school you're going to need some desk space, but what are some of those, you know, top things that you need to have in place in order to have kind of all your ducks in a row, I guess?
Okay, first order of business is your bed. As high as you can loft the bed. It's called lofting.
Okay.
So as high as you can loft the bed, the better. Some schools provide you with a bed that automatically lofts.
Okay.
Others don't, and you have to purchase the little risers. You can get them at one of the big box stores. And they will loft the bed maybe about 12 inches. As high as your bed can go, you should do that because under the bed storage is going to be your saving grace.
Right.
And what I mean by under the bed are stackables and drawers that can go in and out. You don't want to have to remove 2 boxes to get to the bottom.
Right.
It's almost like setting up a small dresser under the bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's priority.
Is there maybe a recommended amount of room from the ceiling that bed top of the bed has to be? I mean, so you have enough room to.
Well, most beds only loft till about 30 inches. The highest the bed will normally loft, if the school provides you with that, is 30 inches. So you have plenty of room to sit up in bed and be comfortable.
Okay. Are there any little bed organizing things, you know, using a side rail or the headboard or something like that too, even when you have it lifted up?
Exactly. That's what I was mentioning about. They actually have these extenders that can hook onto the bed that will act almost like a nightstand. And you can hook it onto the bed. So you almost have a little shelf that can come right out of the bed where you can put, let's say, if you're an iHome or a little lamp or something, instead of having, if you can't have room for an entire piece of furniture, you can do an extender off the bed to use as a nightstand.
Got it.
It's something different, and again, people don't normally think of something like that to maximize their space.
Right. So you've got under the bed, you've got the storage. Where does I've seen and heard some of them where you have the desk under the bed too. Is that another option, or is that not real common?
It's not as common because you're really looking then for that's really a dorm that's providing you with a bed that really, really lofts. Most of the time the desks are on their own, and what we suggest, I'm always telling my clients, you need to think airspace. So again, a lot of the big box stores sell what we call like a hutch with shelving that can sit on the desk against the wall that again will provide that student with additional shelving above them. Because here's the challenge. Most schools, I've yet to hear about a school that allows you to nail anything in a wall. Mm-hmm. You can use hooks that are adhesive and things of that nature, but they're not going to provide you with real heavy-duty shelving. So a small hutch that you can easily assemble on your own and that can stand right on top of the desk will again provide you with that shelving that will take up the airspace that you have. That's the one commodity you have in a dorm room, is airspace.
Well, yeah, and you're thinking about that. It's like kind of thinking about white space. I mean, you need to use every little particle, I guess, of the air, and so we've covered the bed. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk about the other little things that you can squeeze into this dorm room. Whether it be desks or where do you keep your books, and what do you do with your book bag, and some things like that. So we're talking with Leslie Josell from Order Out of Chaos, and we'll be right back in just a moment. Now you see it? Now you don't. Now you see it again. Smead erasable fast tab hanging folders have a special erasable surface that makes it easy to reuse and revise the labels on your hanging file folders, saving you time and money. All you need is a permanent marker, standard white eraser, and Smead erasable fast tab hanging folders. Use erasable fast tab hanging folders with a built-in reinforced tab that you can use again and again. No more messing with tabs that fall off. Erasable fast tab hanging folders are stronger than standard hanging folders and come in a variety of colors for even more organizing possibilities. Erasable fast tab hanging folders, an eco-friendly reusable innovation from Smead, keeping you organized. We are back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about getting organized for college. It's that time of year when kids in the droves are heading back to the college campuses. They have to transform their living into this little space in a dorm. So that requires a lot of good organization. And we have Leslie Josell from Order Out of Chaos with us. And Leslie, before the break, we talked about that airspace, trying to maximize that. Sure. We've got the bed, lofting that, getting the underbed storage units, the kind that maybe would have maybe a drawer pull out, or so they're easy to access so you're not pulling stuff out all the time. So that covers that little footprint. That's what, maybe 8 feet by 4 feet. What else do we have room for in the room?
All right, we're going to maximize every bit of space. And I know it sounds super pedestrian, but remember, we're dealing with college students. Yep. So a couple of things that are key. Anything you put in the room, any kind of storage, if you can, should be clear. Because I like to say that this is the population that if they don't see it, it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So as much clear containing we can do, the better. So if your room comes with a bookcase, but you have a little space, let's say next to it, most kids usually have a refrigerator in the room. Mm-hmm. Again, anything you can put above the refrigerator, any type of storage for, let's say, like a small coffee maker, coffee cups, anything of that nature. What you've done already now is you've zoned your room. Because the challenge for a dorm room is it has to act as your bedroom, your study room, your living room, and your dressing room.
Right.
So the more we can think of zoning spaces, the more we can think of using space that they can see. Remember, anything vertical is visual.
Right.
All right.
Now what about on your desk? So say you have a computer. Most students are either using tablets or laptops, but there's probably not much more space. What are the essentials that you maybe need on your desktop in addition to your computer?
I think you need stuff on your desk and in your desk.
Okay.
So for example, you need to zone your desk even. So in the drawers, you should absolutely get drawer dividers depending on what you want to use your drawers for. Let's say it's for school supplies or your gadgets or what have you. As much dividers as you can do to put in there so you can separate out things and see them better, the more organized you're going to be and the more you're going to maximize your space. The second thing on top of your desk, some students love those trays so that they can at least put, let's say, books in one and papers in the other. Or they even do mini shelves on top of the desk, like I mentioned, where they can do books, notebooks, maybe after school activities. Again, and I shouldn't say after school activities because it's not after school, but just college activities, whether it's a sorority or a volunteer opportunity.
Right.
As much, and I want to just give one more thing. The other thing I love to recommend to students is a charging station as well as a place to, let's say, hold school supplies. One of the most important tips I think you can give when organizing a dorm room is try to find products that have dual purposes. So for example, if you want to have a charging station for your student because they have their phone and they have an iPad and they have a computer, try to find one that not only is a station, but also has a place, let's say, to hold pens and pencils and stuff like that. If you want to bring in more seating into the room, instead of buying a chair, buy an ottoman that actually also can house maybe storage for extra linens or the towels.
Okay, I was going to get it on the clothes piece too.
Yes.
Did I cut you off as far as, was there one more thing there? Okay, because you got me thinking about clear, and all I could think about was, okay, you know, seeing maybe like the clothes that they want to have, and then I think about the college wardrobe, which is, you know, sweatpants, shorts, t-shirt. But do you work with students and say, you know, here's kind of like a minimum basic wardrobe, and you kind of minimize the number of clothes just because of the space? Or how would someone know, like, what should I have in my, you know, clothing collection, I guess?
That's a very hard question, because you have students that are going winter, you have students that are going south for school. So being able to, and maybe I'm going to sound, but I saw what my daughter left for school with. The clothing was out of control. Actually, the shoes was out of control. I don't know if guys are bringing as much clothing, so they might use their space for something different. So I'm not really telling them what clothing to bring. What I'm having them do before they go is actually zone their organizing thinking. So write a list of every type of clothing you think you're going to need. Everything from a raincoat to umbrellas to rain boots. If you remember, you're walking now to class. You might have been in high school where you had a car and could run in and out. But then you also need all of your school supplies / office. Now you might have a printer. So now you need to remember you need cartridges for that. You might need paper. You need extension cords. You know, then there's your household items, everything from tissues for saran wrap, or let's say plastic bowls and cups. So what I have kids do is basically zone their organizing thinking into, again, their living, their studying, their clothing, and their maybe bathroom needs, to say it nicely. And this way it helps them delineate what they're bringing.
So you got to tell us, your daughter, how many pairs of shoes did she take, and what did she store them in? How did you solve that, you know, organizing problem?
So what I did for my daughter, she did not want one of those, like, you know, shoe
hangy thingies. Yeah.
No. We use those for other things. I love the clear shoe holders. You can use them for so many things. But remember, when you are in a dorm room, you have to think organized enough. So one of the big box stores, make those collapsible mesh baskets. And she had 2 of them, one for all her boots and one for all her shoes, and they fit on the bottom of her closet, and they maximize the bottom space beautifully. And what she loved about them is she could easily pull them out to get what she needed, and then just push the basket back when she didn't need it.
Now, what happened? I don't know if you have a solution. I'm going to give you a hard one to try to solve here. What happens if you get stuck with a roommate who's really disorganized and a big mess? And do you just draw a line down the center of the room and say, okay, this is my half, this is your half?
You know what? That's not a hard question. I deal with it all the time because I coach a lot of college students. And one of the biggest dilemmas they have is, what do I do with my roommate who is not as organized as I am? So I kind of giggle. I don't know if you ever watched The Brady Bunch. We call it the Great Brady line. When he wanted to be on one side of the room and he wanted his brothers to be on the other. You know, there's nothing better than communication and figuring out, okay, what's our shared space in the room versus what's our own space, and coming up with what some rules are and some compromising. But I'm a big component of getting it out in the open first, and kind of setting that up before you get so deep in it that you can't say anything to anyone.
This is the point in their life when they start learning these people skills and negotiation skills and how you get along with other people, huh?
You get there.
Yeah, because at home you had your own room and no one could harass you about that except your parents, right?
Well, that's not true either, but it's much, you know, you're living in much closer quarters. So constant dialoguing, constant negotiation is paramount.
All right, well, we're getting close to the end. Any other little tidbits or tips that you can give that either the parent or the student who's listening or watching right now, as far as just great time savers, space savers, anything we didn't cover?
Yes, closet. We didn't talk closet, so we're going to be very quick there. Organizing for a dorm room does not have to be expensive, excuse me. Slimline hangers, we all know those, but for a dorm room, they are essential because they'll take up 1/3 of the space in a closet. If you have a lot more hanging clothes than you do folding clothes, buy the extension and double up your clothing. If you have a closet door, anything over the closet, hooks, and more hooks. Hang the totes, hang the coats, because those are so bulky that putting them in the closet will just take up more room than you need.
Oh, those are phenomenal. Just for that piece of advice alone, I think this podcast was worth it. So let's tell people first of all about your academic planner, also about your organizing services and how people can get a hold of you.
Okay, so we do a lot of things at Order Out of Chaos. We work a lot with students. They can find us at orderoochaos.com, even though the name of the company is Order Out of Chaos. We do coach students all over the country. We are ADHD coaches on even in college. So my freshmen in college are my biggest population. So dorm room is my thing. But they can go on our site. We do a monthly newsletter. We blog. We do tremendous amount of content. We have videos, all kinds of great things to learn how to student organize. And then, of course, we're headed into back to school with our academic planner, and you can find that on our site as well.
Right. And we also talked a little bit about that academic planner back in episode number 1.
Sure.
I'm imagining it hasn't changed much, but I know the distribution now is much broader, so you can find it in a lot of places or right there on your site.
Exactly. You can find it in regional stores, Amazon, catalogs. We're moving into more retail these days. And we're just excited. The planner hasn't changed because we're not fixing what's not broken. But definitely the distribution is bigger.
Well, if you were to type into Google a search term that would bring that academic planner up, what would you suggest people type in?
Time management.
Okay.
They can do academic planner because we call it an academic planner, a tool for time management, giving students a way to stay on task, on time, and on track.
Awesome. And we're also linked to that in our show notes as well. So if people, for some reason, can't find you, orderoochaos.com. You can always come to the Smead website in the podcast section, and we'll have that linked for you as well. Well, Leslie, this was phenomenal. You did a great job. I love interviewing you because it's just always a blast. And this is not your last time, and we're going to have you back on again, of course, because you've got a lot of information that you can provide people, and I would encourage people to connect with you as well. So
can I just give you a shout out? You know that.
Oh gosh.
I have to. You know that you guys are my absolute #1 organizing website. You know I'm a huge fan, and you got your breadth of knowledge, and what you put out there is bar none.
Well, we appreciate that. That's why we call it keeping you organized. We're out there side by side with you, trying to provide some of that information. So
awesome. Thanks
a lot, Leslie. It's Leslie Josell from Order Out of Chaos today on Keeping You Organized.